ESPN former NASCAR reporter. I guess you're still a NASCAR
I'm still the NASCAR
reporter.
guy.
Yeah.
I'm still the NASCAR
and now
guy.
devout college football reporter with perfect hair, Marty Smith. If you could describe this, I guess this coffee in one word, what would it be?
Badass.
I love it.
I like it.
I love it.
And now for Dinner with Racers, presented by
Continental Tire.
with your hosts, Ryan Eversley and Sean Heckman.
Placeholder radio sound. I'm a driver. I'm very angry. This is the sound of a driver on the radio during a race.
What do you think I should order?
All right, welcome, Dinner with Razors, Season 2. Pew, 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 pew. I am the other co-host, Sean Heckman, along with...
Your main host, Ryan Eversley. I added the main part to establish dominance.
And we are we're wrapping up our massive trip where we were on the road for 40 days for 12,000 miles across 29 states to bring you 28 free podcast episodes that no one goddamn deserves because of the amount of work this is. And we are literally sitting in LAX traffic getting Ryan home.
Yeah, finally. Thank God. Whew, man. So we sat down at 6 in the morning with Marty Smith from ESPN. Marty's been around a long time in the NASCAR world. He's currently in the transition to not just NASCAR, but also now college football. And it's been a natural transition for him. He's very popular around the world of sports in general. Super passionate guy. We talked about, first off, his amazing hair.
Perfect hair.
Perfect hair. And he went into a couple of different stories, but you get right away when you're listening to him about how he knows how to tell a story. He tells us a tale about a very special athlete that he got to meet, and it almost brought us to tears, and we're like 5 minutes into talking to the guy. Couldn't have been nicer, more humble. Talked about having fans walk up to him in the bathroom at a racetrack, which I've also experienced one time before, so we had that thing to bond over. And we just couldn't believe how accommodating he was for our show.
And just to put this into context, we were supposed to have lunch with him that day. He got the last-minute call from the boss saying, hey, you got to get up and do some sports stuff out in Ohio, which means he had to fly out that morning. So rather than just cancel, he said, hey, can you meet me at like 6 a.m. on my way to the airport? And, of course, we're totally down. But normally a guy like that doesn't need to give us the time.
Yeah.
But he did. And it's that kind of genuineness that made us really, really appreciate what Marty Smith is all about. So with that being said, we took that Honda Odyssey out to Starbucks at 6 in the morning in Charlotte, North Carolina, and sat face-to-face with the one and only Marty Smith. All thanks to
Continental Tire.
All right, we're going to start in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Where you been? What's up, man? Good to see you. I'm Ryan.
Marty,
nice
good
to meet you.
How's it going?
It's good. Sean's just getting you a coffee, so yeah.
He didn't even have to do that.
No, it's
I
all good.
appreciate it. Golly. What a mess. Let me turn off the sound and okay. So who'd you guys do last night?
Justin Marks.
Awesome. Hey,
Yeah.
you talk about an interesting guy.
Yeah, exactly. He's got the story that not a lot of kids do.
He's just a great dude,
Yeah.
too. Like, I'm a huge fan of the person. I've known Justin a long time.
Right. So what's in a Grand Pike? Is that what it was?
Grande.
Grande.
It's black coffee.
that's
That's
it.
what it is,
I
for
like that. Okay.
lack of a better term.
Fair
Okay.
enough. Fair enough.
So we were discussing your routine before you show up. Are you the get up at 4 workout guy?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I had a
Yeah, we
feeling.
picked
Yeah.
that. I want to point out something I'm really excited about. The hair.
Oh, the hair.
is good in real life as
Yeah.
it is on TV.
It is absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I had questions about it, how much time it takes, what
No.
product you use.
It's funny. A lot of people ask me that. They're like, man, how much crap do you put in your hair? What do you put in your hair? How long does it take? Honestly, this is it. There's some stuff called American Crew,
Okay.
like the
Yep.
men's grooming stuff.
Yeah.
Molding cream or something. I do this, and I leave.
Right.
Really?
It's a 3-second process.
Yeah.
So you're just naturally gorgeous.
Okay, God, okay, I have a whole lot of flaws. One thing the good Lord bestowed upon me is good hair.
That's a golden ticket. That's a golden ticket.
It'll be gray in about 10 minutes, though, boys.
Fair enough.
That's all right. That's all right.
All right, so what part of town are you living in?
I live at Lake Norman.
Okay, we thought you lived in this building
No,
because we're like middle downtown.
I wish. The reason that I asked to meet here is it's the closest Starbucks I could find
Okay.
to the airport.
Oh,
When I leave
all
you
right.
guys, I'm getting on a plane to Cleveland.
Right.
Because the Cavaliers are getting their championship rings tomorrow night.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
And it's game 1 of the World Series
Yeah.
at the same time.
Right.
So they're sending me there to tell stories
That's excellent.
about Cleveland.
Yeah. Right. Have you been there much? You spent much time in Cleveland?
No.
Okay. Yeah. It's cold. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I do know that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is there. I did ask on Twitter yesterday for all my people in Cleveland to give me some insight on, like, I like finding really authentic underground that guys in Charlotte, North Carolina,
Right.
or Spokane, Washington, everybody knows the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's in
Right.
Cleveland.
Right.
But people might not know
Yeah.
this exists, whatever this is.
Right,
And we
right.
always go try to find that authenticity wherever we go.
Do you ever get a chance to explore the cities? Because I assume you're in and out of these places so damn fast.
I am. It's very rare that we get to. Now, I'll say this, like, with all the college football work I do,
Yeah.
we'll be there for at least 2 days.
Okay.
So at least we'll get the one evening
Yeah.
to experience that authenticity. And
Right.
the only other thing I've experienced that had as much passion as NASCAR is college football.
Yeah.
And it's ratcheted up. I mean,
Oh, I
Yeah,
can only
yeah.
imagine.
another
Right.
several levels.
We were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, growing up in California, you don't quite have the understanding of
You're
what
right.
college football really is, the
Right.
South and the Midwest.
Right.
So, like, who's the craziest?
That's let me see. That's a hard one because everybody has their
Everybody's kinda
own
got their
little
thing, sure.
brand almost.
Yeah.
I was just
Or who's got, like, the craziest, like, ritual? that they've gotta do?
craziest ritual.
Or just nuttiest fans, either way. Like, who,
Yeah,
like,
I
cuts
mean,
the head off a
there,
pig or
there
whatever.
are certain fan bases. You know, Ohio State's fans are extremely loyal and
Yeah.
extremely passionate, and the entire SEC
Okay.
is that way. And
Okay.
I've spent a ton of time this year specifically in the SEC. I went down to the Grove for the first time at Ole Miss.
Okay.
And I had always heard great stories about how they drink whiskey first thing in the morning and
Yeah.
they're
Right,
just
right, right,
throwing
right.
down, and how stunning the ladies are.
Right.
And
Sure.
all
Right.
of this is all part of it. And it's accurate.
Okay.
And I was at Alabama this past weekend. Alabama played Texas A&M. I had that game, and it was obviously a tremendous atmosphere because Alabama's #1 in the country. A&M was #6 in the country. They were both undefeated teams, and they both have tremendous fan bases, and Alabama's fantastic.
Nice.
I mean,
Okay.
they get down.
Yeah.
Now, for a guy like you with perfect hair and wearing a suit, how much do they hate you?
They don't.
Really?
You know, it's interesting for me. Another thing, not only is the hair a blessing from the Lord, I have a different kind of niche, man,
Yeah.
because I don't opine.
Okay.
I report.
I like that.
And when you report and you're straight down the line and you're accurate and you
Yeah.
have passion,
Yeah.
like there are better reporters. There are better looking people. There are people who have different opportunities.
Sure.
But there will never be anybody that outworks me, and there
Sure.
will never, ever be anybody with more passion than me.
Sure.
And as crazy as it seems, the resonance,
People
Of
kind of
that
pick
passion?
up on that. Yeah, yeah.
I'm the
understood.
guy that would, like, I could drink a beer with that dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that everywhere we go.
Right.
That's the way that people perceive it, and I dig it.
Yeah.
Because honestly, that is who I am.
Right.
I am just a dude who's a dad with
Yeah.
a husband with 3 kids, and who has a ton of passion for life. I've gone through hurt. I've gone through pain.
Sure.
I am blessed beyond what I deserve.
Right.
But I'm just a dude.
How long do we have you for, by the way?
Till I mean, we have time.
All right. Just let us know.
We have time.
That was actually one of the things we were talking about because Ryan, no one ever approaches me because I look like an because I am. But Ryan has a very approachable sort of demeanor and obviously being big on Twitter and whatnot. And we kind of figure you have that same thing going on. Like, what's the most common people? How often do people come up to you just sort of
lot.
at random
Yeah.
just and have
It's a
conversations?
lot,
Yeah.
and it's appreciated
Right.
because so some of my colleagues, like if you look at some of my colleagues in any sport, regardless of the sport, they are so good. It's amazing how talented they are.
Right.
And I'm not quite as polished.
Sure.
And there's a certain affinity for
I get that. Yeah, yeah.
And again, when you're a guy who just wears it on your sleeve, people like that, and they relate to that.
Right.
I always felt that way about Dale Earnhardt.
Sure.
You know, Dale Earnhardt was this larger-than-life, mythical being.
Yes.
Right.
But he was also the guy that I looked at and thought, I could go drink a beer with that guy.
Right. Yeah.
And if that is the measuring point, then they are relatable.
Right.
And I've sort of always had that measuring point.
Right.
And I hope that doesn't sound haughty or anything. That's what they tell me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In the airport, in the grocery
Right.
store,
Yeah.
Right.
on a college campus, at a racetrack. That's what I hear.
Right. Does it get in the way, though? I mean, and I don't say this to sound like a dick, but, like, you know, you have a job. And so, like, you're going to Ohio and you're trying to find all these stories. And if everyone and their brother's coming up to you and just shooting the shit, and you can't be rude, obviously,
It
but you
doesn't-
do have a job to do.
And it's a fair point.
Right.
It doesn't bother me.
Okay.
It drives my producers insane.
Okay. I'm going to
I'm
get
not
along
a
with your
say no
producer.
guy.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
And your producer's like, we got to go.
ridiculous to me that someone would want my time.
I agree.
Sound
I understand.
familiar?
I understand.
And I don't understand why they would want my time.
Sure.
And I appreciate that they do want my time,
Yeah.
and so I'm going to give it.
Yeah.
And there are certain times when my producer will grab it and say, I'm the one that they pay to be the asshole.
You're
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
You know,
I think your producer and I will
look,
get along.
Here's the way I view it, and you may view it the same way. If I am kind, above all else in life, be kind and work hard, and the rest will take care of itself. And if I am kind to someone who wants a minute of my time, they're going to appreciate that
Yeah.
minute, and they're going to appreciate me for the rest of the time.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
I hear people all the time, and it's irrational thought. Take race car driver X. Take college football or NFL player or whatever X. Okay, let me back up. Let's just take race car drivers because they have facilitated autograph sessions. Just take, I don't know, any driver.
Yeah.
Sebastian Bourdais.
Wow.
That's
Didn't know
okay.
you were
Let's say
I like
Sebastian
you going
Bourdais is
there.
in this
Okay.
Starbucks with us right now,
Right.
and he is representing a sponsor,
Right.
signing autographs, right? And that autograph line is out the door.
Sure.
But his time increment is 30 minutes.
Okay, yeah.
The person at 30 minutes and 30 seconds who the line gets cut off, that guy's an asshole.
He's gypped.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, that's
yeah.
not fair to Sebastian.
No.
Right.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
that's life.
Right.
So, you know, that's just kind of the way those things work. I'm going to give my time. And I will say, like, my wife, Lainey, is extremely accommodating from that perspective, too.
Right.
But there comes a point when we're trying to look, I'm on the road a lot.
Yeah.
When we go to have dinner together,
Yeah.
we want to have dinner together.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it does start to make her itch a little bit.
Yeah, I
Right.
can see it. Yeah.
So is that a problem, like in everyday life? So you go to the movies, you go to restaurants. I mean,
I'm not Brad Pitt,
right.
but I will say living in the college football
Yeah.
hotbed of the world
Yeah.
and living in the NASCAR racing hotbed
Yeah.
of the world,
You're going to get
you're a bit more
recognized.
recognizable than you.
Exactly.
I have a colleague named Matt Berry. Matt is a
Okay.
sports center anchor, and we do a lot of work together on
Okay.
the road. Matt maintains you take Marty Smith below the Mason-Dixon line, it's Redneck Jesus. Anywhere else.
Right.
By the way, I coined that nickname for Dale Earnhardt Jr.
I'm in.
Yeah,
I'm in.
I like
I'm in.
that.
Yeah.
I like that.
You take me to Spokane, Washington, or Los Angeles,
Sure,
or even
sure.
Montana. They don't know who the hell I am.
Right.
It's just, you know, this part of the country and the accent.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
accent helps
I'm with
too.
you.
Yeah, I believe it.
All of that stuff.
We do a pass along question. We kind of wanted to get it out of the way because we know you gotta catch a flight in a little
I'm
while.
good, man.
Okay. But basically, last night we had dinner with Justin Marks, who you know.
He's a great guy.
He is. And his question was, as a journalist who's known for telling the story, getting really into the emotions of the sport, what's the difference between telling the NASCAR story versus the college football story?
That's a fantastic question. And honestly, there's not any difference.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. It's a fundamental similarity. Whether I'm doing a basketball story, a football story, a racing story, I want to find the human element.
Right.
I want to tell someone who you are and why they care about you. And that is universal.
Yeah. Everybody wants to know that.
And I think if you're willing to take the time to find that element and the emotion within it, it resonates. I mean, I have a whole lot of friends who for the entirety of my 17 years in the NASCAR garage don't give a damn about racing.
Right.
Right.
But anytime you tell them a story that's a human element story, they go, wow.
Right.
And I feel that way as a consumer. I may not know you, but if I learn your story and you engage me within it, I'm going to care.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, that is universal. And I have seen that it applies to racing. I have seen certainly that it applies to college football. And even, all right, this is a bit of an aside. Last summer, I had the awesome honor to cover the Special Olympics World Games.
Oh, great.
Cool.
Los Angeles, California. We were there for 18 days. Yep. First time it's ever been broadcast, ever.
Yeah.
Right.
And on day one, I walked into, so the opening ceremonies were on a Saturday. On July 22nd, it was a Wednesday, I flew out there. And my job was, I was charged with telling the stories of the American athletes.
Okay.
What a great gig, right?
And that's going to be like, at an event like that, everyone's got a unique story, I have to
Every
assume.
one of them. Not only is it unique, but it's also, it reaches your soul.
Absolutely, yeah, it's got to be heart-wrenching.
Because when you live a life where you may have been ostracized or judged or told no for your entirety, and all of a sudden you have this opportunity to be celebrated.
Yeah.
So let me give you an unbelievable story about that. So I walk into the track stadium at the University of California, Riverside on a Wednesday afternoon, and it is a lightning bolt of excitement, because all of these athletes who have faced exactly what we just discussed for their whole lives have been invited to World Games. It's the first day of practice at the track and field facility. They are all so excited. And I'm talking to the coaches, and I see the excitement. And I look over to my left, and I see this person sitting all alone on one of those aluminum benches you would see on the side of a high school football field, stretching her legs. Buzzed hair. I go over to her, sit down, because I'm intrigued journalistically. I have no idea what's going on. Sit down beside her, put my arm around her, and I say, "How come you're over here all alone?" She said, "I'm just so tired." And I start laughing. I'm like, "We just got started. How could you be tired?" And she went, "Chemotherapy." And I went, her name is Olivia Quigley. Olivia is now 25. She was 24 at the time. Adopted from China at 3 by her parents, Judy and Dan. Grew up in Wisconsin, autistic. Told her entire life, "You'll never live alone. You'll never hold a job."
Yeah.
She did live alone in her own apartment. She did have a full-time job at the Wisconsin Children's Hospital, battling stage 4 breast cancer. After 5 months of exhaustive chemotherapy, she looked at her oncologist and she said, "I'm done with this. I've been invited to World Games. I'm going to go there. I'm going to win medals, and I'm going to show ladies all over this world what they can do too."
Yeah.
Right.
And you know what? Damn it, she did it. I watched that woman sprint and win gold medals and be so exhausted in the aftermath that she laid on the ground and couldn't get up. Yeah. And you want to talk about inspiring.
Yeah, right.
She ultimately was chosen by ESPN as one of the 25 most influential women in sport in 2015. And that is bigger than sport.
Absolutely.
And arguably that story wouldn't have been out there if you hadn't gone up to her. Yeah.
That's pretty
That's
cool.
the blessing of
That's
the
it.
job.
Yeah. That's it.
And they're everywhere, man.
Yeah.
It's like I meet these people all the time. It's beyond my comprehension. And like you guys, everybody knows Tom Rinaldi. You know, Tom is the greatest storyteller of our generation, I think, on television.
Okay.
And I think the greatest storyteller in print is Wright Thompson. Are you guys familiar with Wright's work?
Can't say no.
Go just Google him.
Yeah.
Any story he's written, whether it's about Augusta or it's about Iceland. I went to Iceland for soccer this summer. I mean, crazy stuff.
Right.
He's a tremendous storyteller. But those kinds of stories, you know, it's like to Justin's point, whether it's getting inside Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s head about what it was really like losing his dad, or this young lady who's battled cancer.
Right.
The stories are there.
Right.
That's excellent.
Go ahead.
To follow up, we have dinner tonight with Landon Castle.
Oh, he's a trip.
He is. And so Sean wasn't really familiar with him, but I kind of spent
fascinating
some time
kid.
around him.
Yeah.
So I was like, I kind of pitched Sean like months ago. I'm like, you got to follow this kid. He's really funny. He's very quirky with his humor. And Sure. And so is Sean. And so Sean starts following him, and like a few weeks later, he's like, "Yeah, I get it. I totally get it." So
I'm in.
when
Yeah.
we were re-upping for season 2 of this, I was like, I'd really like to get Landon just to bullshit with him, just to chat
You'll
with
have
him,
fun.
you know.
You will have a blast.
What question would you ask Landon Castle?
I have a couple.
Oh,
but
wow, here we go.
I think the number one I want to know is, and I think his answer is through dogged determination. However, how is he still racing? Because he was one of those kids that came along during the driver development era in NASCAR where they were just throwing out contracts for fear that someone else would get the young stud.
Right.
And then that all went away. And he's still here. So I do have that question. But the second question I have is –
That's it. You had one.
journalist, sorry. How did he reinvent himself through triathlon endurance
cool.
training?
Yep.
Okay.
Good questions.
Because he's not a good triathlete. He's a damn great one.
Right.
Okay. So you seem like a guy who's all about the story and the individual character of that person. And arguably, especially on the NASCAR side, that's what's kind of made your reputation what it is. Kind of stepping out of racing for a second, I think about a guy like Manti Te'o.
Yep.
Who, like, you'd hear that story for the first time and go, oh, that's compelling. And over time you realize, oh, no, that's all made up. Do you ever hear these stories and think, oh, I'm not sure this is real, and how much time do you have to really investigate how much of this is real?
That's it. In the present,
Right.
I don't have much time at all.
That's what I was wondering.
Because we are – I just learned I was going to Cleveland 2 days ago.
Right.
And so I will go there, and I will go find stories.
Right. But you kind of have to take what they say at face value.
You know, the Manti Te'o thing, for example, that was just so convoluted.
Right.
And so beyond comprehension.
Right.
That you almost have to turn into an like, we have people that spend months on one story. That's not me.
No, but that's what I'm saying. It's like if you're going to Cleveland and Manti Te'o didn't have that background, he was one of the stories you would just put that story out there because you would feel like, of course, this guy's it's coming from him. It's got to be real.
I mean, if it's his words, then you're just doing your job.
Yeah, right.
You take it at face value based on the source.
Sure.
And then once all of that comes to light, all that background and what is it called, fishing and all that, like that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, it's a whole other
we got a guy
payroll,
that's going to work on that story for 6 months.
Sure.
Right.
Okay. Makes sense.
So, because you're so approachable, and NASCAR fans can tend to be a little crazy, and I'm sure college football fans can as well. But
no question,
at NASCAR, you're hanging out with like Dale Jr.
Yes,
right. So
one of my best friends.
Exactly. What's the craziest fan story you've ever had where somebody came up to you? I was followed into a bathroom. I race sports cars. No one follows that. I was followed into a bathroom at Watkins Glen, and a guy stood next to me in the urinal asking me if I knew Jimmy Johnson.
I have a million of them,
right.
And that actually deal with urinals. So I'll tell you, too, about bathrooms that are especially funny. So I was at Bristol Motor Speedway a 3 summers ago, and my brother-in-law, my wife is from the Jersey Shore, Ocean City, New Jersey, and her whole family lives in the Northeast, and my brother-in-law and some of his boys came down to Bristol. They go to a NASCAR race every year. They pick a different spot.
Now, were they into it before you came to the picture?
No.
That's cool.
And I'm like, y'all need to come to Bristol. So they come down to Bristol. I forget whether it was a night race or the day race, whatever.
Yeah.
But I had to be up regardless at 5:30 in the morning because we're making Sports Center all the time.
Right.
So I decided I was going to hang with them on Saturday night and have a couple pops. And then I'll be like, well, my hotel, I'll go. I won't have enough. I'll get myself together and I'll go back to the hotel.
Right.
Well, I had a couple too many. So I'm like, boys, I'm crashing with y'all.
You were overserved.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Okay. Overserved myself. Jack Daniels will get you, boys.
There you go.
So I have a couple too many, and I'm like, all right, boys, I'm crashing with y'all. So I end up in this camper, no blanket, the whole thing.
Right.
And in the morning, I get up, and I'm a little foggy. As our boy Ricky Carmichael likes to say, partly cloudy.
There you go.
So I walk to the public bathroom to take my shower.
Right.
just outside of the Bristol Motor Speedway.
What time is it?
It's like 5:45 in the morning.
Right.
And I walk into the bathroom. I have a full suit. I hang it on the john, and I walk into the shower. And I'm taking a shower, and I'm all by myself, and I sling open the curtain, and I walk out of the shower, and there's a guy just standing there.
And there's
I was
all
like,
of you. Sure.
What's up, man? And he doesn't say anything, so
Right.
I'm freaking, dude. He's
Right.
between me and the door.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, just play it cool. So I
Yep.
get my shave, my razor, and I'm sitting there, and I didn't have a beard then. I'm shaving my face. And this guy, I'm not kidding y'all, he walks up right here.
Yeah.
And he goes, "You Marty Smith." And I went, mm-hmm. And he goes, "The hell you doing here?" And I went, shaving. I never even looked at the guy, y'all. I just went, shaving. And he went, all right. 5 more seconds go by. He goes, "June Bug gonna win today?" Dale Jr.'s name.
Yeah.
June Bug gonna win today? I went, probably not. I'm just waiting on this dude to leave.
Right.
The funniest one to me, maybe ever, was you guys probably might not know Taylor. There is one of my best friends is a guy named Taylor Zarzer.
Okay.
And Taylor is to me the best live radio host, sports radio host in the world. And Taylor and I have a mutual friend named Jake Peavy, who is a pitcher for the San Francisco Giants.
Yep.
We were going up to watch Jake pitch when he was with the White Sox against the Washington Nationals. We're driving up the highway. And we have to use the facility, so we pull over to a rest stop in Nowhere, Virginia, Northern Virginia. So I run in. Taylor runs in. We're at we're dudes. We're at opposite ends of the John pool.
Right.
I'm all the way over here. This guy walks all the way over right beside my John.
Yeah.
And he's standing there, and he's like, "What's up, Marty?" And Taylor falls out, man. He's like peeing all over the wall because he's laughing so hard. And he's like, "What are you doing here, man?" And I went, "Pissing." It's just crazy, man.
Right.
People are funny, dude.
Because you get to meet so many interesting people, and you're hanging out with your celebrity yourself at this point.
No,
Yes,
let's
you
not
are.
get carried
You
away.
are. You are.
That's yeah.
And well, you are now that you're on this show.
Yeah.
I'll take that. I'll take that criteria.
Who has anybody set you back on your back foot by being starstruck? Like someone you got to spend some time with, and you're like, "Wow, I'm hanging out with Tim Tebow or somebody that would have."
I will say, not anymore.
Okay.
But previously, by all means.
Yeah.
Like, I can remember when I first started in NASCAR as a 21-year-old kid, sitting on the wall at Richmond, Virginia, in the first race I ever covered. 24 car goes by, and I'm like, that's really Jeff
there.
Damn Gordon.
Yeah.
2 car goes by, that's really Rusty Wallace. 3 car goes by, no way, that's really Dale Earnhardt.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when I first started, I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't hardly formulate questions.
Sure.
Because I was just like, these are heroes of mine. And as that progressed through time, and I realized they're just dudes too, that has really waned for me.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you somebody who really – so my best friend in the world, I'm not trying to play name drop
No, it's
king
all
here,
good. It's all
but
good.
for people that are country music fans, my best friend is Eric Church, the country music singer. And I met Eric before he was Eric. But I learned from him as our relationship progressed that there is intimidation is nothing more than a psychological mindset.
Okay.
Don't be intimidated. And it's funny how that has permeated my professional life and personal life for that matter. That, hey, bro.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, man.
Yeah.
And people like you take Nick Saban.
Yeah.
Probably the greatest college football coach of all time. Or Tony Stewart, one of the greatest race car drivers of all time. They're just dudes, and honest to God, that's how they want to be treated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If they come at you because they're used to being able to go at people and you go right back at them, they love it.
They respect
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I've learned that, kind of from Eric, and as my career's progressed,
Right.
they love that. So by all means, I've been starstruck before.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen very much anymore.
Sure. You're just around it so much that it becomes kind of the norm.
Kind
Part
of.
of the job.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's interesting. You mentioned Tebow. Like, I love Tim. Tim is one of my friends, and I'm real proud of him because he walks the talk.
Yeah.
And I went to see him recently. He spoke at a huge youth Christian conference in Birmingham, Alabama. You want to talk? I didn't realize how famous Tim is.
Yeah.
That dude is famous.
Yeah.
And people flock to him, and they ogle over him, and it's so funny. And he's just the guy. He always makes fun of me, which this is pot kettle, because I wear really tight, like well-tailored stuff.
Okay.
And he's like, man, that shirt tight enough? And listen, guys, he could not, if he took a deep enough breath, buttons would pop off his.
That's awesome.
Right.
So, whatever. I mean, I'm trying to think of the last person that really got me.
Yeah, because, I mean, you're around athletes from other sports.
I mean, we went to the White House.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
we went
that's
to
the
the
thing.
White
Sure,
House,
sure.
and
We
we're
did
in the.
too.
We're in the. Did you?
We
Right.
went like 2 days ago.
Did you?
With our friend Bill
With our
Riley.
friend Bill
over
Riley.
Awesome. Hey, Bill.
Yeah.
But
We,
we didn't get past the fence, though.
Oh, I mean, like
We
I'm
just
saying,
looked
like
at it.
we were in the same room with the president.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't care who you are. You're in the same room
That's
with
a
the
big
president.
deal.
You
That's
sort of
pretty
go,
That's a big deal.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Have y'all been watching these debates? We're not going to get into this because people don't.
Yeah, I'm from
people don't listen to your
California.
podcast for debate.
No.
talk.
Yeah.
But
We've been
yes.
on the road for like 18 days.
I'm paying attention, though.
We've been paying attention, but in fact, one of our guests.
18th day in a row, huh?
Pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where do y'all live?
I'm from Atlanta.
Atlanta.
California.
Yeah, born and raised.
Yeah.
Both
In
of you
LA.
guys are Atlanta.
No, I'm from L.A.
Oh, L.A. Oh.
Yeah. So it's
18 days is a long
Yeah,
run.
it's a long.
Y'all got families? That's your family that.
yeah.
He's got a dog.
I got a dog and Bill Riley.
Bill Riley.
That's all I
Okay.
got.
Then
so.
I will tell that my sympathy for your 18 days is not quite the same
Fair
as it
enough.
would be.
Fair enough.
exactly.
No,
Yeah.
Don't cry for us. We started. I had my last race of my season at Laguna Seca in Monterey.
Great
And
place.
then we started from there and basically drove to Sacramento and then all the way here.
Yeah.
So
How was
Yeah.
this? How did this come to be? This podcast?
like 2 or 3 years ago, well, about 3 or 4 years ago, Sean and I had the idea of doing it like on the race weekends because we both work in sports car racing. And it was like, yeah, we'll get together for a dinner or something. And we actually considered a video idea of it. And it's like not feasible without having major sponsorship and things like that. And even then,
Naturally.
it might change the whole dynamic because now you're on camera. And as you know, people act differently on air than off air.
No doubt.
And
So-
you can't show up at Starbucks unannounced at 5 a.m. with camera gear.
Yeah,
you just can't.
exactly.
So,
So we tried to do a couple on the race weekends. It never worked out because everyone's like, I got a meeting or I got a sponsored thing or whatever, and it just didn't ever formulate. So we kept kicking around. Finally, we're like, we need to do this. Let's do it in podcast form, and we decided let's do a road trip. And I pitched it to Continental Tire, who I race in their series and work with them, and like they were immediately like, yeah, we'll do that. We're like, oh, shit, we have to actually do it now.
Well, it's
So
where it's going.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
downloadable,
Well, we didn't realize.
on-demand
Yeah.
properties
Yeah.
and content.
and evergreen,
And
people can
evergreen
just kinda take it. Yeah,
timeless.
exactly.
Yeah, we
So.
find that the most people that our best results aren't necessarily famous people. It's storytelling.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? And
People.
you can totally relate to that.
One of the greatest ones, and speaking of Continental and Sherry Herman,
Yeah.
Liam Dwyer.
Yeah,
is
oh,
one of the
That's-
favorite
he's-
stories I've
he's
ever
our number
done.
4.
Yeah, he was our.
He's our number 4 download.
Was he?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
He's one of the, like, his passion and his dogged determination
Yeah.
and his complete unwillingness to be told no
Yeah, absolutely.
is so inspiring. Not to mention the fact that he's a badass
Yes, he is.
and fought for our freedom so
Yes.
we could sit here in this Starbucks and
That's
we
right.
could have conversations
That's
about
right.
frivolity.
Yeah. Yeah.
I marvel at him. Okay, here's what we'll do. Let's invent a prosthetic that we can bolt to the clutch. That'll be a good idea.
Right. Right.
And then let's go win with it.
That's right.
You shitting me?
Yeah, he's the best, and the best part about that guy is that like, I'm nobody, and he thinks I'm famous. And it's like, no, dude, you were famous. Like you were the
Yeah, you
badass.
haven't been on ESPN.
Who's the
Yeah.
number one download?
That's what we keep going back to. Our number 1 download is Jeff Brown. He's an engineer.
But the
And that's
story.
exactly it. But he tells an amazing story.
You might even be familiar with the name Scott Tucker.
Yeah,
He's
sure.
the guy with the billionaire that was like the loan shark
They're poor.
company, basically. His story, the story about how they built a club racing race car, which was like the equivalent of like in NASCAR, it'd be like building a late model
Right.
that cost $6 million when everybody else is doing late model budget. wife and a dude in a truck with a dog going to the track, and then they built this $6 million prototype to go win at Road America in a club race. At
the SEC
where no one's getting paid.
Yeah.
And the guy he beat literally had the budget of like maybe $30,000 for the year, and this guy spent $6 million.
What was the onus for it?
What's that?
They wanted they wanted to break the
They
2-minute mark at Road America.
Okay, so it was a timing thing.
Yeah.
Got it.
And so
here's the thing.
He was racing the clock.
He's in a class where the car, Colin Brown, who you're probably familiar with.
Yeah, I know Colin.
So Colin coaches this guy. Colin in that car could almost break the record as the car was from
Basically
the
like the
factory.
stock
we
version.
go buy one right now, take a pro out there, you can probably get close to the record. A little change could do it. The record was a 2-minute lap. He did a 52. He did a 1-minute 52. They beat it by 8 seconds. Insane, right? Insane. But the crazy thing is that there wasn't like $1 million prize. It's literally like a plaque. You get your normal trophy for winning the race, which everybody would have got anyway.
What do people race for?
And then you get a
what
plaque.
What do racers race for?
You get a plaque
The trophy.
that says like sub 2-minute lap. $6 million. Insane. Like it's just.
But
yeah, that's our
cool.
number one story.
By far number one. Yeah, and
Yeah.
no one's ever heard of Jeff Brown.
Yeah, he's
But
Colin's
I'm going to
the
go
story
listen to that podcast.
He's Colin's
so
dad.
There you go.
He's Colin's dad.
Yeah.
He's an amazing engineer, but he doesn't like. He's on social media, but he's not have 100,000 followers or anything like that. And we interviewed like C.J. Wilson, who owns a baseball team,
course.
and is a pitcher, and he's like in the middle with other race car drivers and stuff. But the Level 5 episode is like killer. We'll send you a link in the email.
Do it.
But because of like getting to do cool stuff like that, we've been able to like meet with people like yourself, and then also learn different things for successful people that we get to talk to. And it's been helpful for our process because we're like, okay, that guy like looked you in the eye. He said the right things, but he was also willing to be himself. And that kind of helps us down the road. So, yeah. So we appreciate your time is what we're getting
Well,
at.
no, man, it's awesome. I love it. I just like chatting.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you, because we before we meet with anybody, we'll like Google search, YouTube, a whole 9 yards. There's a Blackhawk video of you on YouTube.
Oh, Black Hawk Marty.
Yeah, Blackhawk Marty.
All-Star race. I forget what year it was now, 07 or 08 maybe. And we used to have a show on ESPN called NASCAR Now.
Yeah.
It was kind of our daily NASCAR update show. And back then, when we first started in the sport, or came back into the sport, the budget was pretty good.
Yeah.
So we'd do pre-race morning, and then we'd do post-race night.
Yeah.
And this was one of those mornings. And if you guys recall, actually it might have been Coke 600. It was Coke 600, I think, Memorial Day weekend. Regardless, I'm at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And back in the day, Humpy Wheeler, the former president of Charlotte Motor Speedway, used to basically reenact the Battle of Grenada in the infield. He'd blow shit up.
Right. I forgot about this.
Yeah. And so I am doing a live shot about Jimmy Johnson's dominance at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And I wasn't quite as seasoned on television then. Now, what y'all got to understand is when I started at ESPN, really the first time I ever did a live shot was on Sports Center.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
I wasn't like a
Right to the
local
top.
dude.
Man,
I'm a writer by trade.
Right.
Yeah.
Straight to the frying pan.
So I'm standing there. I'm not the most seasoned guy. I certainly don't have like the self-confidence and the passion and the delivery I have now, where it's just like, okay, I've done so many reps.
Yeah, you're used to it.
So my butt's puckered up anyway, and I'm standing there and I'm looking at the camera. They're like, "All right, Marty, you're 30 seconds out." And I look up like I'm still so like green. I'm afraid to do this.
And this is
I'm
on YouTube.
like,
yeah.
Yeah. Right.
I look up and I'm like, there's a helicopter coming out here, like landing. And my producer, Andrea Pelkey, gets on the producer line. It's called the PL. It's called.
Yeah.
She's like, guys, we got a problem. There's a helicopter landing. And they're like, what? They're like, we're coming to you. We're coming to you. And as I am saying this comment, a Black Hawk helicopter lands 30 yards away.
Right.
And it damn near blows me to Kansas City.
Yeah, you can see in the video.
You
You're
can-
getting
yeah.
pelted with stuff.
Oh, yeah, like rocks and, like, debris
The hair
hit me
didn't
in the
move, though.
face.
The hair was good. The hair was good.
I maintain when Armageddon comes, two things will remain: cockroaches and my hair. But yeah, I forgot about that. And then it got even worse.
Yeah.
So the second live shot, or the tag or whatever, they run this sound, and you can see me go, what the WTF.
Right.
And so my producer's like, don't do this, calm down. Well, then I'm in the tag. I can't remember if it was a subsequent live shot or the tag. They now have unloaded a bunch of soldiers,
Yeah.
quote unquote,
Yeah.
from the Black Hawk.
Right,
And
right.
they're like, they're like blowing each other. Like, they're shooting at each other. And I'm sitting there, and you can see me lose my train of thought. I'm like, well, Jimmy Johnson has 6 victories here. And I go,
Right.
and I'm like, I'm hit. Back to you guys. I mean, like, it was the most ridiculous thing you ever saw. I forgot about that. It's a good one, bro.
Yeah, it came up and there's like 5,000 views on a couple of them. I was like, all right, this is a thing. Like, there's a thing here. Yeah, I mean, it's like you're getting pelted. We were like, wait, we got to ask. We got to ask.
That's a good one. I forgot about that.
So some of the things we like to ask people on the show are kind of like a human side. And because you like to tell stories and I can tell you're a passionate guy, like you even said it yourself. But so the flip side of that is people and haters. And it looks like ESPN has disabled comments, or at least there aren't comments on a lot of the videos. We tried to find them because on certain websites we go to, we'll look at the comment thread and just see that.
I thought you meant on my Twitter feed. I was
No. I'm sure they're on there.
I got my share.
No. On
Yeah,
ESPN.com, like the videos you guys post, there's no
Like, there's
option
no
for
forums
a comment,
comment.
at
Really?
least, which is
Yeah.
like interesting because we're like, because there's like a clip of you throwing a football at a water skier.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm like, I'm sure someone would have a problem with that. Let's look. And there wasn't because there's no option to
Interesting.
write on it.
I hit him right in the numbers.
Yeah, you were good. You were good. Yeah. Obviously, with Twitter, you have a lot of followers, and so there's an easy avenue for people to be, especially with football, because if someone's team doesn't do as good as they want them to, it's an easy outlet to
I
yell
just
at
got
the
it
guy that's
yesterday.
Right. But because you don't come off as that steely-eyed, like I can deal with whatever, or I'm not phased. You wear your heart on your sleeve. It looks
100%.
like. Does that bother you when you get the crap?
I've gotten
the BS?
way. It depends on how irrational it is.
Sure.
And with time, I've become so much more desensitized to it.
Right.
Sure.
That I used to really invest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's insecurity.
As in you would react and respond to these
yes.
things? Yeah, which is
and
like
it's an insecurity
Yeah.
problem personally, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're entitled to say or think whatever they want.
Right.
It's on me to consume it or not.
Yeah.
Sure.
And for a long time, I was so insecure about so many things that I'd be like, man, what? Like, WTF, why would they say that? Why do they feel that way about me? They're an idiot. They don't know what I go through.
Right. Yeah.
And then you send it and you're like, God, I'm stupid.
Why'd I do
Yeah,
that?
exactly.
Yeah.
And
I think
now
that
I
takes
just
time
don't
for
care
everybody.
anymore.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, it may change now that I'm saying this to you guys. By comparison to most people at ESPN, my fraction of haters is so infinitesimal. It is so small.
Sure.
I have them, but it's really small.
Yeah.
And I'm very fortunate for that. I see what some of my colleagues go through, and I just can't. And I know these people. I know how kind they are, and I know how talented they are. And you just go, man, like, what?
Now, do you think that's because you have less, like you say, you don't opine as much, or maybe
Right,
you don't
that's
go
it.
for as much cheeky
I'm
humor?
just, I report.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So there's less holes.
that's it.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
nailed it. When
Yeah.
you are when you have an opinion for a living, people are really going to hate your guts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, if you have a certain aesthetic,
Sure.
which I do.
Sure.
Like, a lot of people, like, it's a lot of what I get back is, good God, bro, that jacket's too tight, or your
Yeah.
hair looks ridiculous, or you sound like you were born in a barn with marbles in your mouth. The redneck thing.
Yeah, yeah,
play
yeah,
that
yeah,
up.
sure.
Right.
And the most shocking part sometimes about the accent is people think it's fake. Of course.
I love that.
Yeah.
That makes me so happy.
Yeah.
Like, dude, people don't understand. If you have a southern accent is not beneficial to you in the television business. It's not like it's this, oh, my God, you sound like a hillbilly. Come work for me.
Right.
So that part's shocking. But, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
look, it's part of the job.
Yeah.
And the sooner you realize it,
just let
and
it
the
go.
sooner you accept it, the better off you'll be.
Right.
Has it gotten worse moving to, like, especially here in the SEC?
I don't think so.
Really?
Yeah.
NASCAR, college football, pretty similar?
I
in
think
terms of
they
hatred?
are. Honestly,
Okay.
they're the same fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
believe
mean,
that,
they're
yeah.
the same type of fan.
Yeah.
They're the same demographic and the same region of fan.
Right.
So it's not that dissimilar. Now, what's interesting is, I'll tell you what was really interesting. From a hater perspective, I had to win college football.
Yeah.
Because I want you guys to think, I want you to take a moment and think, what reporter ever can you think of that was sports-centric, especially what to me is still a niche sport? I think auto racing is still a niche
Yeah.
sport, except maybe F1 notwithstanding, but maybe that is too, by comparison to other American sports. NASCAR is still niche. What sports-centric person has gone to picked up and gone to another sport ever?
Right.
Right.
You'd be hard pressed to find one.
Right.
Bob Archer.
Yeah, but he started
started
as
running.
a racing guy.
What is it?
No, he was a runner.
No,
he didn't
he
really
was.
cover it.
He covered running. Bob Archer, who used to work at ESPN.
I never knew that. I've only known Bob in auto racing.
Yeah,
But
so
I would argue he made his name in racing.
he
though.
started as a running expert because he used to run marathons.
Right.
We interviewed him last year. That's
I
that's
ran
how we
Boston
met.
a couple years
Oh,
ago.
no way. That's cool.
Nice.
Yeah. But he was able to. He's one of the few people that was able to do it because he was doing figure skating.
Yeah.
As you covered,
As I
and
know.
gymnastics and some other things. But that's like 2 people. It's
I'm
like
telling
two.
you,
It's
it's
you and-
very
you and-
rare.
yeah,
and so,
yeah.
and not only did they, okay, so at the end of the 2014 NASCAR season, they immediately moved me to college football.
When
And-
ESPN went away.
Yep, when we
basically
lost
from
the
NASCAR.
broadcast
Sure,
right.
Sure.
And so, not only did I pick up and move to another sport right then, I also got, like, they had 4 reporters. It was the inaugural college football playoff, right? 4 teams for all the marbles for the first time ever. I had Ohio State.
No pressure.
Yeah.
So I go as this country boy
Yeah.
to Ohio State, which very well may be the widest reach of
Right.
any fan base in college football.
Very big
They're
deal.
everywhere,
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
and they don't mess around with those Buckeyes.
Right.
I had to win them all, and you talk about hating.
Well, I assume the accent implies a bias among fans like that.
Right.
Yeah.
But, man, I'm going to tell you guys how I won them through the storytelling. I went into that assignment with no contacts. I knew no one, no credibility at all.
Sure.
Rightfully so.
Right.
All of that. So I went into it saying, all right, I am going to report what I see and what I find interesting.
Right.
That's what I am going to do here. And there was this might be a little bit inside baseball, but it's an interesting story. So at Ohio State, they have these helmet stickers. They have Buckeyes on them.
Yes.
And if you do something well on the field, you get a Buckeye sticker.
Right.
Well, I always found that really cool as a kid.
Yeah.
And there used to be a Sports Center commercial where they went, Buckeye! And they'd slap it on this helmet.
Right.
So I asked the communications director at Ohio State, can you please give me one of those Buckeye sleeves? And he goes, sure. He hands me one. It's like 10 sleeves, 10 stickers.
Yeah.
And during the media day for the Sugar Bowl that year, they were facing Alabama. All the players are at these tables. And I took that Buckeye sleeve, like this napkin, and I slid it across the table at some of the famous players. Joey Bosa, who's now on the San Diego Chargers. What is this? Well, if I get a sack, I'm like, no. What is it? I go to a couple of other really good players. It wasn't really clicking what I was getting to.
Yeah.
They had a wide receiver named Devin Smith. He now plays for the New York Jets. Devin, what is this? What are these stickers? Well, if I get a tackle on special teams. Man, what is it? He goes, I see where you're going. He said, this is Orlando Pace calling me at 6 o'clock in the morning on game day to make sure I'm damn well ready to preserve and uphold the tradition of Ohio State football. This is Archie Griffin, the only 2-time Heisman winner in history, meeting me at the locker room to make sure I'm ready to uphold and preserve the tradition of Ohio State football.
Nice.
And it gets your willies up, doesn't it?
Right.
He named like 6 different players. And I went, that's what this is.
Right.
So I do that report, that exact report with that exact same delivery I just gave you guys, about 10 minutes before the Sugar Bowl kicked off.
Right.
Okay.
To this day, I still have Ohio State fans walk up to me and go, that's the baddest ass thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That's
and like,
awesome.
that's how you win them.
That's how you do it.
it.
Yeah.
That's
Why? Because the story wins.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Well,
not
right.
about me. It's not about it's not about us.
Yeah.
Right.
We have to be a conduit to why it matters.
Right.
And you look for the passion.
Right.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask, wedding ring.
Yep.
It's pink.
It is.
Why is that?
My wife and I wear pink wedding rings in October.
Okay.
I lost my mom to breast cancer.
Sorry to hear
Okay.
And that's why.
that. Okay. Cool.
Because I have I'm on TV.
I
and
wonder
I
if
hold
that's
a
what it was.
microphone.
Yeah.
And a lot of people notice.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And so it's a way to spread that awareness.
Good deal.
And
Right.
I want to know actually why we have these wedding rings. Graham Rahal.
Oh.
Because Graham is a buddy of mine, a passionate Ohio State fan.
Yeah.
And Graham has a deal with that Qalo or it's Qalo.
Okay.
And they make these silicone wedding bands for people that are really active and work out a lot.
Oh, okay. Sure.
And
sure,
Graham saw that I do triathlons and I'm a marathoner and all that, and he goes, "Man, you need a wedding band." So they sent them to me.
Yeah.
And so Lainey and I have worn these in memory of my mama.
That's great.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, I like that. That's awesome. All right. Most frequent app you use on your phone?
Most frequent app I use on my phone, probably watch ESPN.
Yeah. Fair enough. So a little plug for the
Yeah.
company.
Well, yeah, and it's accurate because I live in airports.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of the ESPN thing, you at the end of NASCAR with their coverage with the deal, were you given a heads up like, hey, we're going to keep you, we're going to take care of you? Or was there a sweat period where you were like,
Well, there was an unknown period.
Yeah.
Because I did, like, I'm a sports-centric guy.
Yeah.
Okay, like, I would talk to my agent. I'm rep by CAA.
Okay.
And I'm talking to them, and I'm like, what should we do? Should we, like, try to go to Fox or maybe try to go to NBC? I don't know what to do. And they're like, ESPN wants you to be in college football. There's only one thing that I'm as passionate about as racing, and it's college football.
Yeah.
I grew up in Blacksburg, Virginia. We didn't have pro teams, man. We had the Virginia Tech Hokies. I'm still a Virginia Tech Hokie fan to this day. And I lost my daddy in 2008. My sweetest memories with my father live in that football stadium.
There you go.
And so I'm telling you, man, it's badass. Oh, it's more than I deserve this life. I'm a very fortunate and blessed man.
Okay, last song you downloaded.
Last song I downloaded. Last song I downloaded. I could give all kinds of plugs because I get a lot of music free. So, hold on. I can tell you what the last song I downloaded was. It was an album. It was not a song.
Fair enough. We'll take it.
The last album I downloaded was by a guy named Sturgill Simpson.
Okay.
Have y'all heard of Sturgill?
I have not.
a clue.
You need to get on that.
I'm on it.
And it's called A Sailor's Guide to Earth. It's a very interesting concept album where Sturgill, who had his first son 2 years ago, used the platform of a sailor at sea to write a letter to his son through the using the album is the letter.
Okay.
And do you guys know the song "In Bloom" by Nirvana?
I do.
He covers it on that record.
Nice. That's cool. Okay.
So he's a fascinating individual. He's one of these guys that the country music format is really kind of broken.
Yeah.
Because it's so commercial radio driven.
We get it.
And Sturgill's one of those guys who just does this.
Right.
He flies a bird at it. He doesn't care.
Yeah. I like it.
All right. I probably have about 3 more minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. We're good.
I think we're good.
Yeah. So
Continental's got the coffee.
I'm finished.
Wow, that was such a great episode. That guest really knew how to tell a story.
Well, good, Ryan. I'm glad you approve of Marty Smith.
You're welcome, Sean. I'm right here.
Super cool to meet Marty Smith, one of the hardest working guys I would say in any industry. And it's hard to describe unless you're sitting in front of him how actually genuine this guy is now. Every word out of his mouth is not only sort of carefully crafted, but incredibly sincere at the same time. So, all right, we're going to get out of here. We are going to go back to a favorite band of mine, a group called IC Hawks in LA, available on iTunes. My buddy Paul Lax is a big part of that. Here is a song. I don't know if Marty will appreciate it or not, but it's a fun song anyway. It's called Shameless Hippie Sex Party. Enjoy.
It's like seeing a sign for a sign maker, or looking for your glasses so you can find your glasses. Maybe he wanted you to understand pain, or maybe he's an artist, never signed his name. Yeah, that's it. Sat around the fire 15 billion years ago and said, this is how it's gonna go down. And I'm skeptical about science, and I'm skeptical about remote control violence. I'm skeptical Yes, I'm skeptical about the faithful, but I'm even more skeptical about the ungrateful. I'm skeptical about arrogance too.
The modern atheist is born on third base
and thinks he hit a triple. Put him in the desert without his little phone and he's a godforsaken cripple. What is the thing? The lowercase, the norm. Find yourself in relation to the stars. God is a neighbor, God is a Jew, God is a compass, God is a Hindu, God is a prison, God is bottled pain, God is an artist who never signed his name. God is a word for people who don't know any better, and that includes you and me and Isaac Newton, and thus concludes my letter.